A converted warehouse in the American Southwest. Summer 1944. Metal trays clatter onto long tables. Steam rises from mounds of mashed potatoes crowned with melting butter. Thick slabs of grilled steak, edges charred. Centers pink, rest beside green beans glistening with fat. The smell fills the air like a physical presence, rich, almost obscene in its abundance. 50 women in faded Italian auxiliary uniforms stand frozen at the threshold, hands trembling, eyes wide. One woman's knees buckle slightly, another grips the doorframe as if the room might disappear. A guard, chewing gum, gestures casually toward the tables. "Go ahead, it's yours." Maria, barely 22, approaches a tray with the caution of someone approaching a trap. She picks up a fork, cuts into the steak. The knife glides through. She lifts a piece to her mouth, chews once, twice. Then her face crumples. Tears stream down her cheeks. She cannot stop them. Around her, others begin to weep. Silent, shaking, ashamed while still eating, forks moving mechanically to mouths as if their bodies have forgotten how to stop. This is the story of how mercy broke them more deeply than cruelty ever could. North Africa, late spring 1943. The Italian line has collapsed like wet paper under Allied pressure. German officers evacuate westward in dusty convoys, leaving confusion and contradictory orders. Italian auxiliaries, typists, radio operators, medical assistants are left behind with vague instructions to disperse or surrender honorably. No one explains what honor means when your allies abandon you. Maria and her unit huddle in an abandoned administrative building outside Tunis. The walls still smell of burned documents and fear. An Italian captain, face grey with defeat, gathers them one final time. His voice cracks. "If they take you, do not expect mercy." The Americans especially. They hate women in uniform, expect cages, spoiled food, exposure. He pauses, swallows hard. "Remember you are Italian. Die with dignity if you must." The women burn documents in a rusted oil drum. Black smoke curls into a sky too blue for the occasion. Some bury medals in the sandy soil. Others strip off rank insignia with shaking fingers. Maria watches Julia, a farmer's daughter from Calabria, whisper prayers with closed eyes. Francesca, still wearing her fascist youth pin hidden inside her collar, rehearses lies. "I was just a secretary. I never chose this." The trucks arrive in the afternoon, American vehicles painted olive drab. The soldiers are not what propaganda promised. Half are black men moving with calm professionalism rather than savage glee. One gestures for the women to line up. Single file, no baggage inspection. Water in the truck. Maria expects shouts, rifle butts, rough hands. Instead, a soldier hands her a canteen. She drinks and tastes chlorine and something sweet. American water, cleaner than anything she has tasted in months. Days later, a Liberty ship. The hold smells of salt, diesel, vomit, unwashed bodies. 200 women packed into a space meant for cargo. The engines throb constantly, whispers circulate in darkness. "Doist, they're taking us to factories. They'll shave our heads." I heard they sterilize prisoners. Some recite propaganda. Americans are gangsters in uniform. They respect nothing, especially not women. Maria lies on her thin mattress, thinking of her younger sister in Bologna. 16. Dark eyes, nervous laugh. She wonders if her letter arrived. She rehearses a final prayer in case they are shot upon landing. She tries to remember her father's face but cannot. He died 4 years ago in Greece, and memory has softened him into blur. One night, unable to sleep, Maria climbs to a porthole. Through salt-crusted glass, she glimpses the Statue of Liberty, green and ghostly in harbor mist. She has seen it in propaganda posters with devil horns, flames rising from the torch, captions about false freedom. Now it just looks tired, old, a woman holding light in the dark. The ship docks at New Jersey. Guards shout orders in harsh English. The women shuffle down a gangway onto ground that sways after days at sea. Maria's legs tremble. Julia vomits onto concrete. Ashamed, a young American nurse in crisp white uniform approaches with a clipboard. Polished shoes, perfect hair. She looks at the exhausted, filthy women and smiles, not cruelly, not mockingly. She speaks careful Italian. Benvenute, welcome, you are safe now. Safe, not captured, not defeated. Safe. The word feels like a lie, but also like something Maria has not heard in years. She does not know whether to believe it. She does not know whether believing would be betrayal of everything she was taught, or betrayal of a truth she is beginning to suspect, that perhaps she was taught to fear the wrong things. Fort Bliss, Texas, August 1943. The train deposits them at a siding surrounded by desert scrub and barbed wire. Guard towers rise against a sky bleached white by heat. Floodlights? Armed sentries pacing slow circles. Everything confirms what they expected. The cage, the control, the visible machinery of captivity. But the gate is painted. The signs are neat, stenciled in crisp letters. A flagpole stands at perfect attention. Rows of whitewashed barracks stretch in geometric precision, each one identical to the next. Somewhere in the distance, a radio plays swing music, horns and drums and a woman's voice singing words Maria cannot understand. Roll call. An officer stands in the shade of a building, reading from a clipboard. He is middle-aged, balding, wearing glasses that catch the sunlight. He calls names with careful pronunciation, stumbling over the vowels, but trying. Maria Rossi. Maria raises her hand, throat tight. He makes a check mark. No snarl, no slap. Just bureaucracy, just a pencil mark on paper. They are issued metal tags with stamped numbers, photographed against a white wall, holding small boards with their names and dates. Asked questions by a clerk who writes their answers in neat columns. Age, hometown, rank, occupation, medical conditions. The tone is clinical, almost bored. A corpsman asks if anyone is pregnant or diabetic. One woman faints from heat and fear. Two medics appear instantly with a stretcher and canteen, their movements quick and practiced. They do not curse her. They do not laugh. They simply carry her to shade. Maria watches all this with growing confusion. She was prepared for cruelty. It would confirm everything, make the hatred simple and clean. But this procedural calm is more unsettling than rage. They are being processed like inventory, like files in a cabinet. The efficiency suggests they are not even worth hating. Around her, the other women exchange glances. Julia's eyes are wide. Francesca's jaw is clenched tight, as if holding back words that might shatter. A woman named Teresa, who worked as a nurse in Tripoli, whispers, "They act like we're patients, not prisoners." An American guard walks past, young and sunburned, carrying a clipboard. He is not watching them with suspicion or contempt. He is simply doing his job, checking boxes, moving to the next task. Maria overhears him talking to another guard in English, laughing about something, a baseball game, she thinks, though she cannot be sure. Not about prisoners, not about Italy, not about war, just life continuing as if they are merely an administrative detail in someone's ordinary day. She thinks, they don't see us as monsters. They barely see us at all. The realization is strange and hollow. She was taught that the enemy would delight in their humiliation, would savor their defeat. But these Americans seem indifferent to the emotional weight the women carry. It is not mercy exactly. It is routine. And somehow that is more disorienting than malice would have been. They are led to a processing building. Inside, the air is cooler. Ceiling fans turn slowly overhead. A female camp administrator sits behind a desk, gray-haired, stern-faced, wearing a Women's Army Corps uniform with sergeant stripes. She addresses them in halting Italian, reading from a prepared script. "You are prisoners of war under Geneva Convention. You will be treated with respect according to international law. You will work, but you will be fed, clothed, housed, and given medical care. You will be allowed to write letters home. Letters will be censored for security. Do you have questions?" Silence. The women stand in a tight cluster, unsure whether speaking is allowed or punished. The administrator waits. "Questions," she repeats, more gently. Finally, one woman, braver or more desperate than the rest, asks in a trembling voice, "What will you do to us?" The administrator looks genuinely puzzled. Her brow furrows. "Shall I do to you?" She glances at her script as if checking whether she missed something. Nothing. You will work in the laundry or kitchen or garden, depending on assignment. You will eat 3 meals daily. You will follow camp rules. You will attend roll call, that's all. The women stare. The administrator sets down her paper. This is not a punishment camp. This is a prisoner of war facility. You are protected under international agreements your country signed. Do you understand? Slow nods, but no one understands. Not really. As they file out, Giulia leans close to Maria and whispers in dialect, words from home, from the village. Se questo è l'odio, perché sembra così normale. If this is hate, why does it seem so ordinary? Maria has no answer. She looks back at the administrator, who is already reviewing papers for the next group, and thinks, they speak to us as if we still matter, as if we are still human beings with names and rights, not just defeated enemies to be discarded. It should be a relief. Instead, it feels like standing on ground that might give way at any moment, not because it is weak, but because it is not what she was told to expect. And if they lied about this, what else was a lie? Day 2. A guard marches them to a low building marked showers, laundry, in painted letters. The women freeze at the threshold. Every propaganda film, every whispered story about camps, German camps, Soviet camps, camps where prisoners vanished, began with showers. The word itself has become a threat. The guard is a woman in her 40s, heavy-set, with tired eyes and a wedding ring worn thin. She sighs, impatient, but not cruel. It's just soap and water. You stink. Let's go. Inside, white tiles, cracked but clean. Overhead pipes with nozzles, hooks for clothing along the walls. The smell of bleach and steam. No drains in the floor that might suggest gas. No sealed doors, just showers. Simple, institutional showers like those in a school or factory. The guard demonstrates, turning a knob. Water gushes out, clear and strong. Hot on the left, cold on the right. Here's soap, real soap, not sand or lye. White bars, wrapped in paper, stamped with a brand name Maria does not recognize. Here's shampoo for your hair. Towels on the bench. You have 20 minutes. Don't waste water. The women stand motionless. The guard rolls her eyes. I'm not watching you. I'll be outside. Knock when you're done. She turns her back, that small, deliberate gesture, and walks out, leaving the door ajar. Silence. Then Giulia moves first, fingers fumbling with buttons. The others follow slowly, undressing with the shame of exposure, eyes darting toward the open door, waiting for the trick to reveal itself. Maria steps under a nozzle, turns the knob marked with an H. Water hits her skin, actually hot. Not lukewarm, not cold, but hot enough to steam. She has not felt hot water in 2 years, not since before the war consumed everything, before soap became a luxury and bathing meant a bucket of cold water in a tent. She closes her eyes. The heat sinks into her scalp, her shoulders, her spine, and without meaning to, without permission, she sobs. The sound echoes off tiles. Around her, others begin to cry too, Giulia with her face pressed against the wall, Teresa with her hands covering her mouth, Francesca standing rigid under the spray, with tears streaming down her face, mixing with water. They wash and weep in equal measure. Some scrub their skin until it turns red, as if trying to wash away more than dirt. Others stand motionless, letting water pour over them, too overwhelmed to move. Afterward, the laundry. The guard leads them to another room filled with machines, huge industrial American machines that churn and hum and shake the floor. An interpreter, a thin man with kind eyes, explains the camp laundry schedule in careful Italian, once a week for sheets and personal items, twice a week for work clothes, standards of cleanliness per regulations. He shows them how to mark their items with stenciled numbers so nothing is lost. Maria watches her filthy uniform, stained with sweat and dust and the grime of defeat, tumble inside a machine with hot water and soap. Through the round glass window, she sees it spinning, becoming clean. It feels like watching something impossible. Then, the toilets, a latrine block adjacent to the showers. The guard opens the door to reveal a row of stalls, individual stalls, not a trough or a ditch. Inside each one, a porcelain bowl, white, gleaming, a wooden seat, a flush lever, a roll of toilet paper on a metal holder, a small diagram on the wall showing proper use, drawn with simple figures and arrows. Julia approaches one as if it were an altar or a weapon. She has used outhouses her entire life, chamber pots, ditches in fields. Once, during the worst of the North African campaign, a hole dug in sand with flies swarming, but never this, never porcelain. She sits, uses it, then stares at the lever, pulls it experimentally. Water swirls and vanishes with a rush of sound. She pulls it again, watching the mechanism work, and again. A guard passing in the hallway glances in, grins without mockery. First time? Julia nods, face burning with shame and wonder. The guard shrugs. My grandmother was the same when she came from Poland. Took her a week to trust it. She walks on, boots echoing down the corridor. That night, lying on a cot with clean sheets, thin military issue, but clean and white and smelling of detergent, Maria stares at the ceiling. The barracks are lit by a single bulb. Outside, a guard walks past, flashlight beam sweeping the ground. Somewhere, someone is crying quietly into a pillow. Maria thinks of the barracks in North Africa. Buckets for waste, disease spreading through the unit, the constant smell, the shame of it. And now, porcelain, soap, hot water, machines that clean clothes. She tries to hold on to hatred. It would be simpler, cleaner. If they were cruel, she could hate them purely. If they starved her, she could feel righteous in her suffering. But they give their prisoners toilets. They give them soap that smells like lavender. They demonstrate how the plumbing works, as if it matters that a prisoner understands. She whispers to the darkness, to no one. What kind of nation builds toilets for its enemies? Julia's voice answers from the next cot, raw and tired. The kind that has enough to spare. Or the kind, Francesca adds bitterly from across the room, that wants us to feel ashamed of where we come from. But Maria does not think it is cruelty. That is what frightens her. She thinks it might just be how they live. That this abundance, this infrastructure, this casual provision of dignity, it is not a weapon. It is simply what they consider normal. And if that is true, then everything she was taught about the enemy, about the war, about who deserved what, all of it might be built on sand. Day 3. Breakfast bell at 0700. The women are marched to a mess hall, a long building with screened windows and rows of tables set with metal trays. They shuffle forward in line, braced for thin soup, stale bread, maybe a boiled potato if they are lucky. That is what prisoners eat. That is what they ate, even as soldiers before capture. But the smell hits them first. Before they see the food, before they reach the serving line, the smell stops them like a wall. Bacon, coffee, fried eggs, the scent of butter and grease and abundance, thick in the air, impossible to ignore. Maria's stomach clenches. She has not smelled bacon in 2 years. Coffee is a memory from before the war. Before everything was rationed and ersatz and thin, her mouth waters against her will. They shuffle through the line. A cook stands behind the counter, an older black man with grey hair and sad eyes, wearing a white apron spotted with grease. He ladles scrambled eggs onto each tray without speaking. 2 strips of bacon, a biscuit still warm, with a pat of butter melting into it. A small cup of jam, actual jam, dark red, strawberry or cherry. A tin cup of coffee with a spoon. Alongside the cup, sugar in a bowl and canned milk in a small pitcher. Maria stares at her tray. She has not seen an egg in 18 months. The bacon looks almost obscene in its richness. The biscuit is golden, steaming slightly. Her hands shake as she carries the tray to a table. She sits. The table is clean. The fork is real metal, not wood or bent tin. She picks it up, cuts into the eggs. They are soft, yellow, cooked with butter. The smell makes her dizzy. She takes a bite. Salt, fat, richness. The taste floods her mouth, and for a moment, she forgets where she is. The eggs are perfect. Not watery, not burned. Just eggs. Cooked by someone who knows how. She takes another bite. The bacon crunches between her teeth. Salt and smoke and fat exploding on her tongue. She lifts the coffee. It is strong and bitter, and when she adds sugar it becomes almost sweet. Real sugar. Not saccharin, not nothing. Halfway through, she realizes she is crying, not sobbing, not making sound, just silent tears streaming down her face while her hands continue moving fork to mouth, unable to stop. Around her, the same. Julia weeps into her tray, shoulders shaking. Teresa eats so fast she chokes, coughing and crying and eating all at once. Francesca sits frozen, staring at her bacon as if it is a betrayal. But then she eats it anyway, slowly, tears dripping onto the metal tray. A guard walks past, pauses, looks at them with something like confusion or perhaps pity. She does not speak. She simply moves on. Maria thinks of her mother in Bologna. The last letter said they eat polenta made from chestnut flour and boiled weeds. Her brother fainted at his factory job from hunger. They stand in line for hours for a single loaf of bread that is half sawdust. And here she sits, behind barbed wire, a prisoner, eating bacon. The shame is so deep it has no name. She wants to refuse the food. It would be honorable. It would be patriotic. She imagines standing, pushing the tray away, declaring she will not accept charity from the enemy, but her body will not obey. Her hands keep moving. Her throat keeps swallowing. She is so hungry, and the food is so good, and she hates herself for it. Lunch is worse. Meatloaf, actual meat, ground and baked with a brown crust. Mashed potatoes with gravy. Green beans. White bread, soft and fresh. Canned peaches for dessert, swimming in sweet syrup. Dinner. Fried chicken, golden and crispy. Rice. Cooked carrots. Cornbread with honey. Chocolate pudding. Each meal is an accusation. Each bite asks the same question. Why does the enemy feed you better than your country did? That night, lying in the dark, Julia whispers, I forgot what fat tastes like. I forgot food could make you feel full instead of just less hungry. Maria does not answer at first. Then quietly, they didn't break us with threats. They broke us with potatoes. Silence. The words hang in the air like smoke. Another voice, bitter and broken, Teresa from across the room. What do we tell our families? That we ate steak while they starved? That we gained weight in prison while they withered? No one answers. There is no answer. Francesca speaks, her voice hard and defensive. It's a trick. They fatten us to make us weak, to make us grateful, to break our spirits so we forget who we are. Maybe, Maria says, or maybe they just have so much they don't know what else to do with it. That's worse, Julia whispers. If it's not even cruelty or strategy, if it's just excess, just normal for them. Maria closes her eyes. She sees her sister's face, thin and pale. She imagines her mother standing in a ration line in the cold. She tastes bacon on her tongue still, hours later, the fat and salt lingering like guilt. She thinks, I am a prisoner eating better than my family. I am defeated and fed. I am behind wire and safe, and I do not know how to carry this. The truth settles over her like a weight. The enemy has given her something her own country could not or would not. Enough. Simple. Ordinary enough. And she will never forgive them for it. Not because it was cruel, but because it was kind. Because kindness from the wrong hands is harder to bear than cruelty. Because every meal is a mirror showing her what she was denied, what her family is still denied, and who had the power to provide it all along. Weeks pass. The camp establishes rhythm. Roll call at 600. Voices calling numbers in grey dawn. Breakfast. Work assignments. Everything is structured, predictable, the way institutions run when they have rules and follow them. Maria is assigned to the garden. Rows of tomatoes, squash, peppers growing in Texas heat. The work is familiar. Her hands remember how to pull weeds, tie vines, judge ripeness. The guard supervising is a boy named Eddie, 18 at most, sunburned and thin. He shows her how Americans hoe differently, pushing instead of pulling. He repeats English words slowly. Tomato, water, good job. One afternoon, he shows her a photograph. A white farmhouse, a younger boy, a spotted dog, brother, dog, Rex. He looks at Maria. You have family. She pulls out a creased photograph. Her sister, 16, standing in Bologna. Dark hair. Nervous smile. Eddie studies it carefully. Pretty. I hope she is okay. Maria's throat tightens. Me too. They stand in silence, prisoner and guard, two kids wishing each other's family's safety. In the canteen, they buy small things with work coupons. Hershey bars, Coca-Cola in green bottles. The first time Maria tastes Coca-Cola, she laughs. It's so sweet it hurts her teeth. Julia grimaces. It tastes like sugar mixed with metal. But she buys another the next week. Evenings in the barracks. Some women cling to anger. Francesca leads them, voice fierce. They want us soft. We must remember who we are. But others stop pretending. Teresa says quietly, we were lied to about the camps, about everything. That sounds like treason, Francesca snaps. Treason against what? Teresa asks, exhausted. A government that collapsed? Or just the lies? The arguments continue but grow quieter. Conviction drains away like water from cracked clay. Maria writes letters home, careful because censors read everything. I am safe. I am fed. I am treated fairly. She does not write. I am ashamed this is true. She does not write. I eat while you starve. Red Cross inspections. A Swiss official asks questions. Are you beaten? Starved? Given adequate food? The women answer. No, no. Yes. The official makes notes. The women speak truth that feels like betrayal. One evening, Eddie brings a guitar, sits outside the fence, plays country songs. Some women hum along. He teaches them, You are my sunshine. They teach him funiculi funicula, laughing at his pronunciation. For half an hour, the war feels distant. Lieutenant Sarah, the camp nurse, treats a woman's infected tooth, uses Novocaine, works gently. Afterward, she asks, Do you have children? The woman nods. Me too, 2 boys. I miss them every day. That night, the woman tells Maria, She spoke to me like I was still a person, like we were just 2 mothers far from home. Maria nods. That's the problem. It's easier to hate an enemy who hates you back. The days blur. Work, meals, letters, small conversations. Maria finds herself laughing at a joke, enjoying coffee, feeling sun on her face. Then guilt crashes back, sharp and cold. One afternoon, Eddie asks, When war ends, what you do? Go home, if there is still a home. You scared? Yes. Of what I will find. Of who I have become. Eddie nods. Me too. War changes everyone. Maria watches him, a boy who misses his dog, who plays guitar badly, who asked about her sister. A boy who is supposed to be her enemy but is just a boy, and she is just a girl, and the hatred they were taught feels like a costume that no longer fits. That night, Maria thinks, if we survive, what will I tell my sister? That the enemy asked about her, that he hoped she was safe, that he showed me kindness when he didn't have to. And if I tell her that, will she believe me? Fall 1943. Red Cross mail arrives in canvas sacks. The women gather when letters are distributed, faces tight with hope and dread. Maria receives a letter from her mother, 3 months old, wrinkled, stained. The paper is thin, words cramped to save space. Bologna is bombed again. Your sister hides in the cellar every night. We eat potato peels and dandelion greens. Your brother has dysentery, no medicine. We pray you are alive. We do not know where you are. Around her, others read similar letters. One woman learns her father is dead, another that her village church was burned for firewood. Teresa's husband writes, I do not know if you still live. There is no food. If you receive this, know I loved you. That night, dinner is pot roast with carrots and potatoes, soft bread, canned pears, milk. Maria cannot eat. She pushes her tray away. Julia stares at her plate and whispers, "My mother wrote that my little brother is eating grass. Grass from the yard." Silence. "And we throw away leftovers here." The guilt is crushing. Some women stop eating, as if refusal might transmit virtue across the ocean. Others eat frantically, storing food for a future famine. The contradiction between letters and trays becomes unbearable. Arguments erupt. Francesca stands in the barracks. "This is a trick. They fatten us to break our spirits. We must resist." Maria snaps back. "Resist what?" "The soap. The fact they follow their own laws. We are prisoners. We should suffer." "We are suffering, just not the way we expected," Julia interrupts, tired. "Maybe the point is we were lied to." Francesca spits the word. "Traitor. Maybe. Or maybe I just stopped pretending." More news arrives. Italy has surrendered. Mussolini arrested, then rescued, set up as puppet in the north. The country is split. Allied south, German north. Civil war. Italians killing Italians. The women fracture. Some refuse to believe. Others collapse in relief. A few scream at each other about betrayal and loyalty. Maria receives another letter. 6 weeks old. Her mother's handwriting shakes. "The Germans are everywhere. They take our food, our sons for labor. Your sister is thin as paper. I am glad you are far away. At least you are not here to see this." Maria reads it again. "I am glad you are far away." Her mother is grateful she is a prisoner. That night, she sits outside under floodlights. Lieutenant Sarah approaches with coffee, sits beside her. "You okay?" Maria shakes her head. "My family is starving. I am fed. My country is bleeding. I am safe. How do I live with that?" Sarah looks at the darkness beyond the fence. "I don't know. But maybe you live by remembering you didn't choose this. That surviving isn't betrayal." Maria nods but doesn't believe it. Sarah adds quietly, "We got letters too. From the front. Boys we knew. Some don't come home. War doesn't care about fair." "Do you hate us for being Italian?" Sarah considers. "No, you're just women far from home, like me. But we were enemies." "Were we? Or were we just told to be?" The question hangs in the air. Later, alone, Maria writes in her hidden notebook. "The enemy obeyed rules my leaders ignored. They feed me while my family starves. They treat me with dignity. My country denied its own soldiers. I do not know what that makes me. I only know I am alive, and my sister is eating grass. And somewhere in that contradiction is a truth I am not ready to face." She closes the notebook. Outside, a guard walks past. The camp is quiet. Maria lies in clean sheets, belly full, body warm, and feels more lost than she did in defeat. Spring 1945. Rumors swirl through the camp like dust devils in the Texas wind. Germany is collapsing. Hitler is dead, or hiding, or insane in a bunker. The Russians are in Berlin. The Americans and British are meeting them in the middle of a shattered continent. The guards grow quieter, checking radios between shifts. Exchanging glances the women cannot read. Camp routine continues, roll call, work, meals, but the atmosphere shifts. Something is ending. Everyone feels it. May 8, 1945. A loudspeaker crackles in the yard. An officer's voice, formal and clear. "Attention. The war in Europe is over. Germany has surrendered unconditionally. Hostilities have ceased." Silence, not cheers, not celebration, just silence spreading like a stain. The Italian women stand motionless in the sun. Some begin to cry, not tears of joy, but something more complicated. Others simply stare. Francesca sinks to her knees on the dirt, mouth open, no sound coming out. Julia covers her face with her hands. Maria feels nothing. Empty. Hollow. The war is over, and she was not there for the end. She did not fight, did not resist, did not die honorably as they were told to do. She just waited, behind wire, fed and sheltered while her country burned. What is honor now? That night, the barracks are full of whispered conversations and stifled sobs. The women who clung to fascist pride feel it crumble. The ideology lost, the duchy executed by partisans, Italy split and occupied by foreign armies. But the women who accepted camp life carry guilt too. They survived comfortably while their families starved, and their cities were reduced to rubble. Francesca sits on her cot, staring at the wall. Someone asks if she is all right. She does not answer. Teresa says quietly, "At least it's over." "Is it?" Maria asks. "The fighting stopped, but what did we become while it happened?" No one answers. Days pass, weeks. The camp remains operational, while bureaucrats decide what to do with thousands of Italian prisoners scattered across America. Repatriation is complicated. Italy is in chaos. Ports are damaged. Ships are scarce. Priorities unclear. Summer 1945. Finally, preparations begin. Medical checks, dental exams, vaccinations. New clothes arrive. Donated dresses, civilian coats, blouses, skirts. No more uniforms. The women are being transformed back into civilians, as if clothing can erase what happened. They pack their few possessions. Some have gained weight during captivity. Their faces no longer gaunt, cheeks filled out, bodies healthier than when they arrived. That too feels like betrayal. How do you return home looking well-fed? Maria stands in front of a small mirror in the latrine, barely recognizing herself. Her skin is no longer grey. Her hair is clean and cut. She does not look like someone who survived a war. She looks like someone who sat it out in safety. Farewells begin. Small, awkward, painful. Eddie finds Maria in the garden one last time. The tomatoes are ripening, heavy on the vines she helped tie. He hands her a small cloth packet. Inside, seeds. "You're home," he says in halting Italian. "Plant." "Remember." Maria takes them, throat tight. She wants to say that he showed her the enemy was human, that his kindness complicated everything, that she will carry this confusion forever. Instead, she says simply, "Thank you." He nods. "Safe. Travels. I hope. Your sister? Okay. I hope your dog is still waiting for you." He smiles sadly. They shake hands. Prisoner and guard. Briefly, just two people who knew each other's names. Lieutenant Sarah finds Maria before departure. She hands her a bar of soap wrapped in paper, the same lavender scent from that first shower 2 years ago. "For your mother." Maria almost breaks. "Why?" Sarah's eyes are kind and tired. "Because she's somebody's mother, just like mine." Maria takes the soap. "Will you tell your sons about us?" "About the prisoners?" Sarah considers. "Maybe, when they're older. I'll tell them that even in war, we tried to do the right thing, that rules mattered, that you were people, not just enemies. Were we right to accept it? The food, the kindness. You were right to survive. That's all anyone can do." The morning of departure, trucks wait at the gate. The women line up with their bags, donated clothes, a few personal items, letters from home, small things bought at the canteen. They look like refugees, which is what they are. Maria boards a truck, finds a seat near the back. As it pulls away, she turns to look at the camp one last time. The barracks, the garden, the mess hall, the place where she was fed and sheltered by the nation she fought against. A guard waves from the gate. Maria raises her hand, waves back. She thinks, "I will never be able to explain this. Not to my family, not to myself." How does one explain that captivity felt safer than freedom? That the enemy's mercy was harder to bear than their own country's neglect? That kindness became a weight heavier than any chain. The truck drives through the gate. The camp disappears behind dust and distance. Ahead lies a ship, an ocean, a shattered homeland. Behind lies 2 years of contradiction that will follow her for the rest of her life. The ship crosses the Atlantic in reverse, the same ocean, the opposite direction. Maria stands on deck watching America fade into grey horizon. Beside her, Julia murmurs, "I don't want to go home." Maria nods. "I know. Does that make us traitors?" "I think we became traitors the moment we didn't die." The voyage takes 2 weeks. The women are quiet, subdued, as if grief has finally caught up to them now that the routine is gone. They talk less, eat less. Some stand at the rail for hours staring at water. Others write letters they know may arrive before they do, trying to explain the unexplainable. Italy, late summer 1945. The port is rubble. Cranes stand twisted like broken bones. Buildings are hollow shells, windows empty, walls pocked with shrapnel. The smell hits them as they disembark. Rot and ash and sewage and something sweet and terrible that might be bodies still buried in collapsed structures. Children swarm the dock, skeletal and filthy, begging in hoarse voices. Pan, signora, pan. Bread, lady, bread. Maria has nothing to give them. She clutches her small bag, donated dress, bar of soap, packet of seeds, and feels obscene in her relative health. The train to Bologna is slow, stopping frequently, the tracks damaged and hastily repaired. Through the window, fields cratered by bombs, villages reduced to stone and timber, refugees walking roads with everything they own on their backs. An old woman pulls a cart. A man carries a child too weak to walk. The landscape is a wound. Bologna station. What remains of it? Half the roof is gone. The platforms are cracked. But people wait there anyway, searching faces, calling names, hoping. Maria's mother is there. She would not have recognized her, shrunken, grey, aged 15 years in 3. But her mother recognizes her, rushes forward, embraces her with arms that feel like sticks wrapped in cloth. Grazie a Dio, grazie a Dio. Thank God. Thank God. Her sister stands behind, 16 now, but looking 12. So thin her dress hangs like a sack. She stares at Maria with enormous eyes. "You look healthy," she says quietly. Maria hears the accusation in the word healthy, fed, whole. While they withered, she tries to explain. The Americans, they followed rules. They gave us... Her mother cuts her off, voice sharp. "Do not speak of it. Not here, not now. You are home. That is all that matters." But it is not all. They walk through streets Maria barely recognizes. Buildings collapsed. Rubble cleared into piles, but still everywhere. Walls marked with painted warnings about unexploded bombs. Her own street is half destroyed. Their building stands, but gutted. Windows broken. A whole section collapsed where a bomb hit 2 buildings over. Inside, the apartment is cold and bare. Furniture burned for heat. Walls stained with damp and smoke. A single room still habitable. Her mother and sister sleep there together for warmth. Her brother is away, working on a reconstruction crew for food rations. Dinner that night. Thin soup made from vegetable scraps and a crust of bread so hard it must be soaked to chew. Her mother divides it carefully, precisely, as if portions are sacred. Maria eats her share and feels each bite like a stone in her stomach. Her sister watches her. Was it terrible, in the camp? Maria does not know how to answer. They fed us 3 meals a day. They had toilets that flushed. They gave us soap and beds and medical care. Her sister's face hardens. Then you were lucky. Was I? We ate grass, Maria, grass and bark and weeds. We stood in line for hours for food that made us sick. We froze because we had no fuel. We hid in cellars while bombs fell. And you had 3 meals. Maria has no defense. I'm sorry. For what? Surviving. For surviving better than you did. Her sister turns away. Her mother changes the subject. They do not speak of it again. Days pass. Weeks. Maria tries to resume life, but everything is wrong. Meals taste like ash. Too little. Too late. Nothing like what she grew accustomed to. She sees public toilets, broken and filthy, and remembers porcelain and running water. She watches officials take bribes, steal rations, ignore rules, and remembers guards who followed regulations even when no one was watching. Neighbors ask carefully, "How was it in America?" She says, "I survived." Did they hurt you? No. Starve you? No. Then, she cannot say it, cannot speak the truth, that they treated us better than our own country did. The words would be unforgivable. One night, unable to sleep on the thin mattress on the floor she shares with her sister, Maria opens her diary. By candlelight, she writes, "The war did not end for me on a battlefield. It ended in a mess hall in Texas, with a tray of food I could not refuse and tears I could not stop. The enemy I was taught to fear became the mirror that showed me my own humanity. The hands I was told would hurt me were the ones that reminded me I still mattered. I will carry this contradiction for the rest of my life, that mercy from the enemy was harder to bear than cruelty from my own, that a plate of potatoes and a bar of soap broke me more deeply than any bullet could. I do not know if I betrayed my country by accepting kindness. I only know the war taught me one unbearable truth: small acts of decency survive when empires fall. That kindness offered in the darkest times echoes longer than any ideology. That a boy who asked about my sister and gave me seeds mattered more than all the propaganda and speeches and promises of glory. We were told to hate, but hatred is simple. What they gave us was complicated. Rules, dignity, enough. And I do not know how to reconcile the girl who believed the lies with the woman who lived the truth. She closes the diary. Outside, the city is dark. No electricity, no fuel for lamps. Somewhere a dog barks. Somewhere a child cries. Life continues in the ruins. Years later, Maria plants Eddie's tomato seeds in a small patch of soil behind her rebuilt home. They grow thick and red under the Italian sun, thriving in soil that once knew only weeds and hunger. Her sister, visiting, asks, "Where did you get those seeds?" "From a boy who asked about you." Her sister pauses. "An American?" "Yes." "An enemy?" Maria looks at the tomatoes, heavy on their vines, and thinks of a sunburned boy with a photograph of a dog, a nurse who gave her mother soap, a camp where rules mattered more than hatred. She thinks of contradictions she will carry until she dies, that her captors fed her better than her leaders, that mercy can wound deeper than violence, that the enemy's kindness became the heaviest burden of all. "No," she says finally, "just a boy who missed his dog and hoped we would all survive." Her sister is quiet. Then, softer, "Did he know what it meant? The seeds?" "I think he knew that small things matter. That when everything else is burning, someone handing you seeds for the future is a kind of faith." The tomatoes ripen, Maria picks them, and they taste like summer and salt and something she cannot name. Perhaps forgiveness, perhaps just memory. She makes sauce and shares it with her sister, and they eat in silence, and the silence is not quite forgiveness, but not quite condemnation either. It is simply what remains when the war is over, and the contradictions stay. In a world that taught them to hate, someone chose to hand her seeds instead of scars, and maybe that is the only victory that matters. Not who won, not who lost, but who remembered, in the midst of cruelty, to be kind. That an enemy could see her as human. That rules could matter more than rage. That mercy, however complicated, however heavy, however impossible to explain, was still possible. And that small truth, fragile as a tomato seed, stubborn as a plant pushing through ruins, is what survived. If this story moved you, if these forgotten women and their unbearable contradictions reminded you that even in war's darkest hours, small acts of kindness echo across generations, subscribe and turn on notifications. Share this with someone who needs to remember that mercy, however complicated, is never wasted. Because the smallest gestures, given in the cruelest times, are the ones that teach us what we truly are.